I'll also say, if you're a fan and you're wondering how bad this is, even if you see like 400 likes on the tweet or loads of replies, it's going to all be anime profiles and people with 10 followers and people with like half of them literally won't even, it'll be like followed by no one like some of them aren't even in esports. It's like just some weird affinity group they have. So I wanted to tie that in though, because basically a lot of those people as well, I'll actually kind of echo something you said. To me, one of the areas where some of it has to be jealousy is, I've always thought this is one of the maddest things people don't do in life. They have like a philosophy. Dude, they'll even brag about like their ideology and their beliefs and their virtues. So here's what I ask, right? Okay, that's the input. What's the output? Because at the end of the day, right, if you're the best guy ever and you're more morally pure than I am and you have better principles and you're just better in every regard, you should be murdering me in the fucking arena, mate. I should have no chance if I'm some corrupt piece of shit and I lie about everything. You'll just mop the floor with me. Because by the way, when they're corrupt and they're like, I'm up the floor with them, I take them out all the time. All I have to show is you're a liar. Because that's one of the things I want to spin to now is these people who actually, some of them are in the industry, and the one that always blows my mind, I mean, a small version of this will be what happened recently with the CIS thing, but it's happened many other times, is when industry figures, and worst of all, people who I would have considered a real journalist for the rest of their work, and I'll even say this is the killer for me, it's the ones where, listen, there's plenty of hacks who never had any moral compass, but some of them actually do. Like, I genuinely do believe in good faith. They do on certain topics fight against corruption or speak out against things that are wrong. But something about it's the reason why you came up with that meme that like, so because Trump was like the orange man bad, for me it's like ginger man bad. Like, there is a mad similar scenario where people get so triggered by our tweets, by the way, not by the tweets, that they will actually, in the same way as they would call Trump anything, they'll say literal outrageous lies about you or I. Like, they'll suggest that like, we lied about every story we ever did, or we were just given the stories, but or someone paid you to write them, like things that, like, if you're a journalist, to make that statement publicly, you'd either have to very carefully couch it with a lot of caveats and disclaimers, like, I sometimes have a suspicion that, like, but they're not doing, they're just saying we did it outright. Or you'd have to have the most nailed on the fucking wall, god tier sources of all time. And spoiler for fans, these are just complete fabrications. How do you deal with those sorts of things? Because those are the people where, I'll spin it to what I said earlier. In a weird way, right? If you were super vindictive, you could actually basically use the mechanisms they're trying to use against you. You could probably get some of these people fired if you really wanted. You have connections you could pull in. So how do you handle that? Because I know sometimes you fire back, I do sometimes. Sometimes I just ignore it because I think, again, these are fucking, bitter losers. You let them just have a moan or whatever. So how do you handle that part? Because again, if it's outside the industry is one thing. When it's the kind of motherfucker who might, in theory, meet you at a show one day and go, hi, big fan of yours, if you don't know who they are, like, that's a bit different, isn't it?
I mean, for me, the only thing I'll ever really get down and dirty to combat is any claim that I've fabricated any aspect of my work. I will not tolerate that. That is zero tolerance. That is soon as that is implied, or any other material, fabricated lie that could have an impact on my career in terms of work moving forward. These must be challenged. Yeah, you owe it to yourself. You owe it to the industry, because when you let these like fetid little gremlins sort of succeed with these with doing these little operations, it's you today. But it's like Hunter S. Thompson used to say, right? Today's pig is tomorrow's bacon.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I actually didn't get this, by the way, myself. This is one area. If people wonder why I seem to have gone way harder on those people now, like people are like, you're just having a breakdown. It's like, no, I just didn't aggress shit for 5 years. So I've got a massive back catalogue of cunts I have to take care of. And one of the reasons why is this, I actually realised in a mad way, to ignore it is actually to be selfish. Not only just because, I mean, it sounds weird, because of this, right? Because as you say, guess what? If they're going to go after me, and I know it's all fake and they've got nothing on me, I mean, what are they going to do to friends of mine who are beginners in the industry, who've done a few fuck-ups and don't have any of the tools that I have to battle it? Like, well, I'm just going to stand back when they do that. So if I'm going to let that guy get wrecked, like, there's no point being in the industry. So you're right. Like, you actually owe it to yourself and other people to some degree. You almost have a moral responsibility to combat that.
Yeah, and understand, it's never about, you can say my work's bad. That's fine.
Of course.
You can say my work was lacking in some areas. I'll even take that. I mean, I think generally feedback is worthless, because when you look at the caliber of the person giving it, it often really doesn't mean anything. They've got no credible experience in the field they're giving you the feedback for. But I will add, all of that's fair game. But if you say I fabricated something, well, right, okay, now what's really happening here is you, with a platform and an audience, are trying to convince that audience through that platform that everything Richard Lewis does is a lie. He can't be trusted. And, I might report on a story that's relevant to their interests tomorrow, and they might not believe it. There's even potential for real world harm, depending on the story.
Certainly.
I might break a consumer-related story, and saying, "Oh, this is happening," and they'll go, "It's just Richard Lewis hyperbole again." And then next thing you know, people are losing money. In a pandemic when every penny it needs to be pinched. So listen, I'm under no illusion. Like writing about video games, frivolous as fuck. Writing about esports, even more frivolous, probably.
Yeah.
But I'll add this. I've always tried to tackle the most important stories within that niche, and that's why my body of work stands out to other journalists in the space. So when people undermine that, what about next time I do a story about a player that's being abused and no one pays any attention to it because I've allowed some Russian cunt with 1 million followers to say my stories aren't legit, and that hurts that player. That player can't get out of that bad situation because of what that guy did. What they've said. What if actually enough detractors get together to discredit me to a degree where people believe the lies and I am therefore officially discredited? You can't let that stand. You have to fight that battle as soon as it manifests itself, because for the work to have importance, it needs to be upheld as actually being accurate. And so when people attack the credibility of you and your work, no, absolutely not. And there's no dirty trick I won't leverage to triumph in that particular arena. The rest of it, whatever. The back and forth, the insults, I don't really care about any of that. But yeah, that absolutely must be combated. And as I said, I personally, all I care about when I get out of this business is that I go with my record intact. I did the big stories. I changed the face of the industry in multiple esports titles. And there you go. Whoever comes next, build on that. I've laid the foundation. And I'm in a log cabin in Alaska getting drunk every day.